Hello ladies, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Aisha. I'm a certified trauma-informed coach and manifestation guide, and I am on a mission to help 1 million women become their most confident and successful selves through the use of manifestation. So today's video is really very important topic, and I have covered this on my channel in several other snippets, but today is going to be a real deep dive into letting go and detaching, and primarily we're going to be debunking the myth of detachment, the myth of letting go. So there are some teachers in the manifestation community who just don't understand detachment, and they don't understand what letting go means. They don't understand surrender. And a lot of times this can be so confusing because you are watching me say one thing and they say a different thing, and it creates this doubt within you that really halts your manifestation. So I want to clear that up super simply today and express to you that detachment is not this complex thing, and it's not, it doesn't mean giving up. A lot of manifestation, a lot of manifestation teachers out there talk about detachment, talk about letting go as if you're giving up on your desire. And even some of them teach giving up. Giving up is a completely different method than detachment. It is inspired by detachment, but there's a very big difference. And so detachment, when we talk about detachment and manifestation, we mean detachment as in the opposite of attachment. So what do we think of when we think of attachment? If something is attached to you, it's like Velcro. It's really stuck. It's enmeshed. It is not going anywhere. It is attached, right? Just like your fingers are attached to your hands. Like they're not budging. They're not going anywhere. And what happens in manifestation is a lot of you are coming from this desperate, lacking energy. And that's perfectly fine to acknowledge. You know, I've been there myself. There's no shame in it, but we have to be aware that that desperate energy, that clingy energy, that controlling energy is in fact one thing that can push your manifestations away, because it's coming from a place of need. It's coming from a place of emptiness. It's saying to the universe, to God, to whoever you believe we're communicating with, right? It is telling the energy of the world, I don't have this thing. Because if you're desperate for it, you don't have it. I mean, are you thinking about the fingers on your hand? Are you desperate for them to stay with you? Or do you look at your hand and go, oh yeah, those are my fingers, no big deal? You're not obsessed with it. You're not in a craze of like, oh my gosh, I have to have this thing. Like, you already have it. And so there isn't this sense of super strong attachment. And this especially comes in, I don't find it comes in health quite the same way as it does in finance and relationships. And finance and relationships are very intertwined. Oftentimes I will see coaching clients come to me and they have pretty much the same problem going on in their finances as they do in their romantic partnerships. And you see this across the board because your relationship with money is in fact a relationship. So your relationship problems, your attachment issues can manifest in that way. Now, there is a principle in psychology called attachment styles, and this comes from our childhood patterns that we picked up from our parents. If your parent was there and present with you, and they were fulfilling and nurturing, and they always took care of your needs, and they created this safe and secure space, you're going to have what is called a secure attachment. If you were in a lot of chaos, in a very abusive, very traumatic home, your parents were in and out of the home, you had a very strained relationship with your parents, even if you don't feel like it was that traumatic in your objective brain, okay, in your logic brain, a lot of us can think our way through trauma. Even if you don't think it was that bad, you can still walk away with what is called a disorganized attachment style, and that is on the opposite spectrum of secure. So disorganized jumps from avoidant attachment and anxious attachment. Now, anxious attachment is that clingy, I need it, I feel so desperate without it, I feel hopeless without it, every time it's not here, I can't rest, I can't settle. I'm always in a panicky state, I'm always afraid that it's going to leave. This manifests as fear of abandonment, fear of betrayal, and so on and so forth. And in the same way, disorganized attachment and avoidant attachment can experience those same fears, they just manifest in a little bit different way. So whereas the anxious person is going to be very clingy, the avoidant person is going to be avoidant, and they are going to run. Any sign of conflict, they will remove themselves. Any sign of criticism, they become very defensive, they put up their walls. They can be very stoic, they can, do anything in their power really to avoid, to put distance between them and their specific person in order to, again, avoid, in order to prevent themselves from feeling that type of pain. And oftentimes avoidant attachments come from the fact that they believe it won't last. They believe that it won't be healthy, and so they would rather avoid it altogether. This is, the Shakespeare quote, it's better to love and, to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. They don't believe that. Avoidants do not abide by that principle at all. They would say, I would rather not love at all because it prevents me from getting hurt. And then you have a disorganized attachment style, which again, I said is the combination of the two. So you desperately crave love. The anxious side of you is chasing and pushing and manipulating and forcing and just trying so hard to cling on to the love. Any love that comes, you suffocate it. You try to trap it. You try to force it to stay in your life. And then when you start to see the signs of, oh, this isn't going how I expected, this isn't feeling how I want it to feel, this isn't fulfilling me, this doesn't feel safe and secure, then you will push it away. And this is primarily because you are so fearful, again, that good things don't last. It is often bred of the other shoe syndrome. And the other shoe syndrome means if you were to drop a pair of shoes and one falls before the other, if you drop one, you're essentially like waiting in this limbo, in this anxiety, the other shoe to drop. And what that looks like is when things are good, you're looking around your circumstances like, okay, when's something bad is gonna happen? Like, when's the next bad thing? Like, if you just got an influx of money and all your bills are paid, you're like, okay, now what's gonna break? Like, what's the next bad thing that's about to happen? And it is probably the worst of all three attachment styles that are impairing to relationships, because you are creating these severe hot and cold circumstances for yourself, because the anxiety will create one circumstance and then the fear will create the other circumstance, and you're bouncing between the two constantly. I find the disorganized attachment style tends to be most closely associated with what is called CPTSD, or complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And again, CPTSD does not have to come from this really crazy, wild, abusive incident. Oftentimes, if you grew up with ADHD or autism, like myself, you were in an environment where you didn't fit in, you were never quite right, you never showed up the way that you were expected to, and oftentimes this came with a lot of criticism. And it's that constant criticism, it's that constant self-doubt, it's that constant feeling like you're doing things wrong, feeling like there's something fundamentally wrong with you, and being mistreated because there are these expectations placed on you that you just cannot conform to. This includes societal expectations, gender expectations, expectations on you based on your age. So if you reached a certain age and they're expecting you to behave at your age, as a child, we all develop at different paces, and especially if you have a disability or disorder like ADHD or autism, that's going to prevent you from meeting the expectations of others. And again, being in that environment where you're constantly criticized, what tends to happen is you put on a mask, and that's why we call it masking, to shield yourself from that pain and to pretend to be a version of yourself that you're not, which creates its own pain cycles. It creates its own trauma because you've never been able to be your authentic self and be accepted for your authentic self. So a lot of times, if you did have let's say, not the healthiest dynamic at home with your parents. Maybe your parents didn't have a healthy marriage. Maybe you had step parents that were not in a healthy partnership, or they were abusive to you, or your birth parents were abusive to you, or you were in foster care, or experienced anything that is not what we consider the norm or the ideal. You are more susceptible to these things. And I really want to make sure that in watching this, if you are feeling that insecurity come up, if you are feeling triggered, know that you are not the only one who experiences this. And there are people in every country all around the world who are going through that same thing. So be fortunate and be grateful that you are here watching this video, you are consuming content that is helping you break out of that, and that there are options for you. You know, I speak on my personal experiences on this channel to help inspire people to understand. I went through some very, very dark years of my life. For almost 2 decades, I was bogged down by depression, anxiety. Turns out I had undiagnosed ADHD, and my CPTSD was really affecting me. I was really stuck in a negative habit loop, and you know, I couldn't find a way out until I really accepted, okay, this is where I'm at, and this is what my story has been, and this is what I've been through, but I don't have to let it control me anymore. And this is also what inspired me to create my marriage material self-concept course. And in that course, I break down attachment styles. I cover things like love languages. I talk about how our nervous system is wired from those childhood patterns and just recreates them in relationships. And it is really important that we don't use these labels and we don't use these methodologies, and we don't act like there's something wrong with us, right? We're not necessarily fixing something that has been broken. What we're doing is recognizing that, is this a healthy coping pattern? Is this a healthy behavior? Or is this harming me? And if it's harming me, I would like to change it. I would like to make it better. I would like to improve it. You can still have, believe it or not, a healthy marriage, even if only one of you is securely attached. And oftentimes, avoidant partners and anxious partners will marry because those wounds are opposite, and so they come together to heal together, to grow together. I manifested my marriage when I was in a state of complete dysregulation. I had done so many different modalities of healing. I mean, EFT, EMDR, I had cognitive behavioral therapy since I was 14, and I never really saw results for it. I finally sought treatment for ADHD once I knew that that was something I was diagnosable with, and it really helped me to accept myself, actually, because I finally figured out there was nothing wrong with me, right? It's just that my brain is wired a little bit differently. And that led me obviously down this path of business that I've taken, where I used to coach especially stay-at-home moms and moms with ADHD who were on the neurodivergent spectrum, who were experiencing things like CPTSD. And so I have almost 4 years now teaching people how to overcome these things. So if you've watched this far into the video, you're probably asking yourself, like, what does this have to do with attachment and detachment and letting go? Well, if you know your attachment style from childhood, it gives you insights on why you feel so attached to your manifestations. It tells you why you feel this drive to cling on to the good experiences or to run away from the bad experiences. It informs you about where your self-concept is, what your identity is, consciously or unconsciously. And the whole point of manifestation is to bring the unconscious to the conscious level so that we can make a choice. Manifestation is just choosing. It's really just making a decision. Every day you wake up and you decide what you want. Every day you wake up and you say, I'm going to be this person because that's who I want to be. And it's not, I'm going to fix myself because I'm broken. It's that I'm going to select the best version of myself that I could possibly imagine today and every day. So back to detachment. If you have an anxious attachment style, detachment's going to feel so difficult for you because of that anxiety, because you're constantly fearing that good things leave, you're fearing that nothing good is real. You don't trust it. And because you don't trust it, you will try to manipulate the situation. You will try to control things. You will do what's called emotional monitoring, which is like watching your specific person for their emotions and trying to calm them down or trying to manage their emotions. You will, in the middle of fights, sometimes start damage control, start apologizing profusely, trying to people please your way out of difficult situations. Now, if you have an avoidant attachment style, you still can be attached to your manifestations, but it's going to look a little bit different. That attachment scares you so much, you will just avoid it completely. You will avoid doing any techniques. You will avoid truly facing any of your fears and limiting beliefs. You will avoid recognizing when you're self-sabotaging. And a lot of times I notice avoidants tend to blame other people for their problems, and it removes accountability from you. And I'm not saying that anxious or disorganized or even secure people don't blame others for their problems sometimes, but I find most often in avoidant attachment, by blaming the other people, it gives you an excuse to run away. And even anxiously attached people, they're blaming you for their anxiety. They're blaming you for how fearful they are. They're saying, every time you leave, I feel anxious. And while that's a valid feeling, we have to say, I feel anxious every time you leave, instead of trying to put the blame on other people. Again, manifestation is a very psychologically backed principle. It's something that is built into human nature. It's not the most spiritual thing, in fact, and a lot of science is spirituality because there's no separation on this planet. We are not human beings separate from our spirituality. And the way that we know this is if all of our physical needs are met, we're still hungry for something more. That's the spiritual side of us. So knowing that desiring is normal, excuse me, we don't want to quit on our desire. We don't want to give up on our manifestation. I mean, if it's stressing you out, absolutely, you can put it on a shelf and walk away and revisit it when you're ready. But the point of detachment is not that at all. Detachment allows us to look at what we desire and say we want it and make a conscious decision to say, I'm going to be happy either way. What this can look like is, let's say I go to a restaurant and I want to order a burger off the menu. And as it turns out, they don't have the ingredients for that burger anymore. Well, now what are my options? I'm going to look at the menu and then I'm going to say, okay, well, I guess I can have a chicken sandwich. Even though I maybe wanted the burger, even though I felt like called to that place to get that burger, if I didn't get that burger, I'm not going to let it ruin my day. I'm not going to be really angry that I didn't get it. I'm not going to be frustrated. I'm not going to give my power away to that circumstance. That's a choice. And why and how I can make that choice and how you can make that choice of detachment is knowing whether you get that desire right now or not, you are the one giving yourself permission to feel good. You are the one giving yourself permission to feel at peace. You are the one giving yourself permission to feel grateful, regardless of the circumstances. And when you are desperately attached, you're unable to feel gratitude. When you are anxious or stressing about your manifestation, you are unable to feel gratitude. And the reason gratitude is so important is because it comes from a place of a detached state. Gratitude says, if I have it, great. If I don't, great. And truly being in your power and standing in your self-worth and standing in your value, in your strong self-concept, puts you in a state of, I know I can have what I want, and it doesn't have to come now. It doesn't have to come exactly when I feel like I command it to, because I'm in control of my emotions. I am in control of my habits. I am in control of my behaviors, and I am in control of my nervous system, and I can regulate myself in this moment. I can choose in this moment to be satisfied with my life and satisfied with myself, even if my desire isn't here. That is the practice of non-attachment. It doesn't mean that you don't desire what you want. It doesn't mean that you're giving up on it, right? And so in this example of showing up to a diner and they don't have the burger I'm going to order, but they do have a chicken sandwich, again, it's my choice. I don't have to stay at that diner. I can go somewhere else. I don't even have to eat at all if I decide that I don't want to, if I decide that, you know what, actually, I would rather do something else and eat later. Or maybe I can show up the next couple days and get that exact burger that I wanted, right? So understanding that if we are giving our power over to the circumstances, we are attaching ourselves to the circumstances. And the more we attach ourselves to getting what it is we desire, the less we are truly standing in our power. And the reason I keep coming back to that phrase, standing in your power, is it's got great imagery. If you are standing tall in your power, no circumstances can shake you. And why wouldn't you want to be that version of yourself? Why wouldn't you want to be the person who says, I really don't care what happens around me because I'm so good in here, you can't faze me. You can't break me, you can't shake me, you can't make me angry, you can't upset me. I am in full control of myself. I truly believe that that's one of our main purposes in this life, is self-mastery. Because the closer that we get to that state, that Sabbath state of everything's fine, everything's cool, I'm grateful, this is awesome, the easier everything comes in for you. And that's why we practice detachment. And that's why we practice letting go. We're not letting go of the desire. We're letting go of control over trying to get the desire. We're letting go of manipulation tactics. We're letting go of stress and anxiety. We're letting go of fear and doubt. We're letting go of whatever response our nervous system has been programmed into playing out for us. We're releasing all of that. And we're choosing to say, I'm going to be good. I'm going to be good no matter what happens. I'm going to be good because my life is so short and I don't know how many days I have left. And I don't know how many memories I have left with the people I love. And I don't know how many times I get to enjoy the food that I eat, or get to share a tender moment with someone I love, or get to laugh over a silly cat video on the internet, right? I'm sure we all do it. It's really about being present and understanding the preciousness of life and being able to cherish it for what it is, the good, the bad, the ugly, because we've cultivated such a beautiful experience inside of ourselves that, again, nothing else matters. And when you get that gratification from your beingness rather than what you're doing or having, you are the most powerful version of yourself. And as the most powerful version of yourself, ironically, your manifestations just come in so much easier. I truly intend that this video was helpful, that it debunked the myth of detachment, and hopefully it helped you to recognize the role that attachment styles play in our ability to manifest. If you are interested in that self-concept course, my website is live down below, and it is really in-depth. It is really designed to help you become the woman that is prepared for marriage. So this is a pre-marriage course. If you're already courting or dating your SP, this is a great time to get that course because it will help you break through any barriers that are preventing you from fully standing in your power and being ready for that commitment. So I would really appreciate it if you check out my website. And if you have not yet subscribed, go ahead and tap the button and hit the bell icon. Again, as I mentioned in my challenge video last month, I am going to be doing so much more in-depth and really rich videos here to create value for you. I am on a mission again to help 1 million women, and that is going to take a lot of energy and a lot of consistency. So I'm so happy that I'm privileged enough to do this for you, that I have been able to take all of my life lessons and condense them into these little mini videos that are helping each and every one of you become a better version of you. I am manifesting that every single one of you gets success in your relationship, your health, your finances, and heals from your childhood patterns. And I wish you all a great day. Bye.